Yes, Vladimir Putin is actually going to Alaska to meet Donald Trump. This isn't rumor, it is on record. The official reason? Negotiating the end of the war in Ukraine. But that's just a facade. The real purpose of the trip is far more explosive. Today, I will reveal the two secret reasons the Kremlin doesn't want you to know why this meeting could change the future of both Russia and Ukraine forever. There are very odd things about this meeting. On paper, this is a peace mission, a historic step towards the end of the war in Ukraine, but it doesn't make much sense. But if we consider that negotiating the end of the war in Ukraine is just a distraction from other negotiations, that real reasons are hidden, then all of a sudden everything makes sense. Do you know what reveals the real reasons? The size of Putin's entourage and people he is bringing to Alaska with him. But first things first. I was very skeptical of this visit at first. I didn't believe it would happen until the very last moment. But it is happening. A large team of Russian reporters and officials, including the Foreign Affairs Minister Sergei Lavrov, flew to Anchorage yesterday, and they're there already, preparing for the meeting. Kirill Dmitriev, the Russian envoy to Donald Trump, a close friend of one of Putin's daughters, posted the photos of Alaska from the plane flying to the meeting. Sunny and beautiful day in Alaska. I bet it is. I bet it is. The meeting is happening. The reason I was skeptical of the meeting was due to the settings. In the last few months, Putin has just outplayed and outsmarted everyone. At first, he was brought back from the political oblivion and isolation by the US president. Trump called him a few times and publicly accepted Putin back as one of the world's leaders. Then Putin declared the victory in the war by staging the grotesque V-Day parade with the North Korean and Chinese soldiers parading in Moscow on the Red Square and hosting 27 world leaders. Then he acted as peacemaker by inviting Ukraine to negotiate the end of the war in Istanbul. But then some things got Putin worried. The first is understanding how easy Iran fell to Israel and how the USA were eager to use their bunker-busting bombs. I think one of the goals of using the special bombs was to send Putin a message not to feel overly safe in his underground bunker. The message worked. Putin seemed very uneasy at St. Petersburg Economic Forum at times and asked Ukraine to talk. And the second reason is the catastrophical state of Russian economy. It's gotten so bad that Putin called for an emergency meeting with the top state officials in charge of the economy, something that had never happened before. And the officials didn't seem too happy or enthusiastic, judging from the looks on their faces. He knows things aren't well. But Putin needs to flex more muscles, to show more victories, to showcase more power. He needs to send a warning. Don't even think about it to Russian elite groups. And he has just done that. He has received a chance. He was invited to fly to the USA, and he is on the way to Alaska. Now, under regular circumstances, I find Putin meeting American president in Alaska very odd. High-level peace deals aren't hashed out in first meetings by presidents. They're finalized after months of talks between the generals and diplomats. Normally, a summit is to sign documents already agreed on. That's common practice in both business and in the world of politics. And it's exactly what it makes the Alaska meeting very odd. And Ukraine not being present at the meeting table is a huge red flag also. Under regular circumstances, this meeting appears to be absurd. Absurd. But meeting is happening. Okay, there have to be forces that bring American and Russian presidents together. To understand them, we should look at the details, because the devil is always in the details. Imagine that something miraculous happened and Vladimir Putin started really desiring peace and in Ukraine and wanted to negotiate it fast. Say he had a revelation from the above. What would he be doing? Calling Donald Trump? Agreeing on a place to meet, jumping into the jet plane and flying to meet him? And perhaps talking to Zelensky, all three of them. But flying where? To a neutral country, of course. What would be that country? The most obvious choice would be the United Arab Emirates. Putin bragged many times that the president of UAE would host a meeting in Abu Dhabi, in the capital. Switzerland would be the next possible choice. That country is the most neutral to everybody and has a long history of hosting peace negotiations. Or Iceland would be a good choice too. Remember Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev historic meeting in Reykjavik? Why not to repeat it? The USA as the place to meet would be the last choice for Putin for a very simple reason. It's the enemy territory. For 3.5 years, Putin and Russian propaganda have been trying to convince people that Russia is not at war with Ukraine. Instead, it is at war with the West, the collective West, led by its leader, America. For 3.5 years, the Americans were considered to be no good people, Satanists, warmongers, and bloodthirsty vampires in general. According to Putin and the propaganda, Russia is currently at war with America. America wants to destroy Russia's sovereignty, steal its natural resources somehow, and cancel Russian culture all over the world. Well, at least that's what I've been hearing for the last 3.5 years from every single corner of Russian propaganda. And after that, Putin decides to fly to Alaska, the enemy backyard, to conduct the negotiations. This is absurd! Unless Putin and the propaganda were lying us, of course. Unless Russia is actually not at war with America. Unless America doesn't care of Russian sovereignty. Unless America is not, the Americans are not Satanists and generally are good people. After all, if America is peaceful and neutral towards Russia, then for Putin it would be okay to fly to America. And this leads us to the very first secret reason for Putin going to Alaska. But before I share it with you, I would like to take this opportunity and thank you for your support and remind you that it is 1 year anniversary today of Google demonetizing me for standing up against Putin and supporting Ukraine. Friends, thank you for watching, liking, commenting, praying along with me, and sending me your love. Thank you for buying me coffees at buymeacoffee.com, for PayPal and Patreon. This channel is what I stand for, and despite tremendous pressure they're applying on me, I promise I will continue sharing the truth with the world. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Now, if Putin is serious about actual negotiating the end of the war, he would be flying himself to Alaska and taking a few people with him. A few military guys and a few diplomats. It is well understood now that there will be no peace agreement today. Perhaps it's just going to be step 1 towards such agreement at best. No one else is needed to negotiate agreement except for a couple military top officials and two or three diplomats. It's an in and out type of event. Certainly no reporters, or at least very few, minimal number of reporters. What is there to report? You are in flight, in sit down at the table, negotiate, and get out back to Russia. That's all. Instead, we are seeing a huge show right now. This is a media event talked about and televised all over Russia. It's been going on for the past 2 days. Putin's steps, meetings before he leaves, interviews with top officials, forecasts. Russian propaganda has exploded in this last 2 days. And Putin is being sold as the victor already. He is flying to Alaska, to the historic Russian land. That's what majority of Russians think of Alaska. Despite his status of the war criminal wanted by the International Crimes Court, despite all the troubles and obstacles, the Russian Tsar is showing the world how it's done. The American president personally invited him to the USA, and Putin is going there. Putin has turned out to be right about Ukraine. It is the proxy of the USA, after all. If it weren't, the USA would not conduct the negotiations for Ukraine without Ukraine. If Ukraine were not the proxy, the United States would bring Ukraine in. And that's it. Putin has turned out to be right, and Zelensky does what America tells him to do. Putin is the absolute victor. He is outslide everyone, including Trump, and he has come out on top. And Russian people can be proud of the ruler, the Tsar. If you turn to Russian media right now, television, different radio shows, Telegram channels, Z propaganda, this is kind of message you will find all over. Moreover, 2 planes full of reporters and Russian officials are already in Anchorage, waiting for the Tsar to come. They're going to broadcast Putin's visit live. They will make this show larger than Michael Jackson's funeral. The first secret reason for Putin to go to Alaska is his triumph. Translating it to inside Russia, to every single head of that is in Russia and to the entire world. Going to the USA is like getting a diploma signed by the US president that says, Vladimir, welcome back, you resilient son of a gun. Congratulations. And Russia Today, RT, will make sure to spread that message all over the world. The Tsar who defied the West, the man America respects, the victor over Ukraine and the West. And you know what? Many people all over the world will believe that message. Putin is in Alaska after all, in America, shaking hands. It's not fake. He's there. He's the guest of the US president in the land of the free and the home of the brave. And make no mistake, Putin's visit to Alaska will solidify his power inside Russia and will send a strong message to the elites, as I said before. Don't even think about it. That's the message he wants to send, if you know what I mean. The Alaska visit will give him the status of the legend, the hero. After the visit, he'll be considered the savior of Russian state and Russian people. Many domestically in Russia, Many will never ask or doubt him any longer. This is Putin's first secret reason for going to Alaska. And I say that just being invited and stepping his feet on Alaska soil, historic Russian land, regardless of the outcome of the talks, is Putin's huge success already. The second secret reason behind Putin going to Alaska is revealed by who he is taking with him. He should have been with 4 people alongside, with the most important person being, of course, Vladimir Medinsky, Putin's aide and the head of Russian peace negotiation team in Turkey. He recently met with the Ukrainians for 3 times and headed the negotiation meetings. And by the way, I covered those events live in the Patreon account of Inside Russia. where I post 9 news I find significant daily. So if you want to stay on top of things Russia, please consider becoming a patron. You'll find everything you want to know about Russia there. So Medinsky is the guy that should be sitting right next to Putin, continuing his work. Then there should be, well, probably Kirill Dmitriev, Putin's daughter's close friend and a special envoy to Donald Trump. He visited America and discussed Ukraine. He's also in the know, but he's not the head guy. And Yuri Ishakov, old Putin foreign relations aide. Those are people in the subject. They know exactly what's going on. They have been discussing it with Americans and with Ukrainians. They have been in the process of the negotiations for months now. Well, guess what? The head negotiator, Medinsky, the chief guy, hasn't even been mentioned once in this visit. It's as if he doesn't exist. And as Putin's support team, besides Ushakov and Dmitriev, there are Sergei Lavrov, Anton Siluanov, the Minister of Finance, and Andrei Belousov, also the money guy who is the nominal head of the Ministry of Defense right now. Instead of the chief peace negotiator, Putin has brought the team of the economists, the money people. And this is exactly what they're going to do in Alaska, to secretly discuss economic cooperation and possibly personal economic deals. They have the right team for it. They don't have the right team to negotiate the peace requirements, agreements, whatever. It's all about the money. And you know what? There's plenty to discuss about money. Russian economy is in the deepest crisis ever, and it needs a lot of help. Like, for example, lifting the economic sanctions, assistance in returning Europe as the customer for natural gas and oil, attracting American investors and corporations to Russia in exchange for selling Russia off, perhaps discussing personal incentives, who knows. An economic way out, that's what Putin needs the most after solidifying and increasing his power. And he's brought the right people to America to speak about it. And these are 2 secret reasons for Putin visiting Alaska. Now you know. Before I finish, I want to remind you something. Putin said this on February 24th, 2022.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима. И для этого мы будем стремиться к демилитаризации и денацификации Украины.
It was his decision to attack Ukraine and start the war. 3.5 years later, hundreds of thousands dead, millions displaced, economies in ruins, and the world is a much more dangerous place. Remember what was happening in the world shortly after the start of the war? Ukrainian colors everywhere. Everyone supporting and standing by Ukraine. Standing by David being attacked by Goliath. And 3.5 years later, the support is vanishing. And now Putin walks into America as a guest of honor. Thank God not everyone has forgotten. There are protests in Alaska right now. I salute you, those who remember. I stand with Ukraine. I continue standing with Ukraine. And if you do too, please let me know in the comments. Let's see how many of us still there. Carthago delenda est.